This video is going to cover graphing proportional relationships, and that they'll present the question to you in point slope form and y equals mx form. We'll talk about what all that means as we go through the video. So in this one, this first part's going to be on point slope. They're going to give you a point and they're going to give you a slope. So it's asking draw the line that passes through the point 3,5 and has a slope of 2. So first let's plot the point. We have 3,5 right here. So that's going to be over in quadrant 1 where the x value is 3 and the y value is 5, and it's going to be right there. So you've plotted your point. So now we're going to talk about the slope. We want to think of the slope as a fraction, so we're going to think of it as 2 over 1. And you've previously learned that this is always your vertical change over your horizontal change. So a positive 2 means up 2, and then the positive 1 down here for horizontal, that would mean right 1. Up 2, right 1. So we go back over here to our point that we graphed, and we're going to apply the slope. We're going to go up 2, right 1. And we're going to mark a new point, up 2, right 1. We're going to mark a point. So now they're asking about the y-intercept. Well, we need to extend this line so it'll cross over the y-axis. So a couple ways you could think about this. Our slope was up 2, right 1. Well, from what point did I go up 2, right 1? This point. What point did I go up to? Or you could also think of it as reversing it, just reversing the pattern, down 2, left 1, down 2, left 1. There's a couple ways you can look at it. So I'm going to keep following this pattern, and we see that this line is going to hit the y-axis at -1. So this point is at 0, -1, but when they're asking about the y-intercept, it's going to be -1. The y-intercept is -1. A lot of times you'll see this little dash here between the y and the word intercept. A lot of kids think, oh, that means it has to be negative. No, it's just a dashed, a hyphenated word, y-intercept. Just keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that it has to be negative. All right, we're going to try another one here. Okay, so first we're going to plot our point, -6, 2. X value of -6, y value of 2, it lines up, and it's going to be in quadrant 2 here. So our slope is already in fraction form. We're just going to write it out again, and I want to make sure we understand these moves. Positive over positive means up and right. So up 1, right 3. So this is up 1, right 3, mark it, up 1, right 3, and we're just going to keep on going. And this one you could have put another one over here, down 1, left 3. You could have put a point here. We've got enough to figure out that the y-intercept is going to hit the y-axis at 4. So the y-intercept is going to hit at 4. There it is. Y-intercept is 4. Moving on. So our final example for this, we've got a point at 4, -3. We're going to plot that point. X value of 4, y value of -3. It's going to be in quadrant 4. Our slope is -3. So that's going to be -3 over 1. Now, this being our vertical change, a -3 means it's down 3 and right 1. Down 3, right 1. So from this point, I'm going to go down 3, right 1 and mark it, down 3, right 1 and mark it. So then we can also reverse it. You could drop the negative sign down here, and you could think of it as up 3, left 1, up 3, left 1. You're just following the same pattern. I like to look at it as, oh, it was down 3 from this point. Down 3, right 1 from this point. And we just follow that pattern. Now in this problem, for the y-intercept, I've had a lot of kids start saying, oh, the y-intercept is 3. Yeah, it's hitting this line at 3, but this line is not the y-axis. This is the x-axis. We don't have to, at this point from 7th grade math, we don't have to worry about an x-intercept. You need to look at the y-axis, and it hit the y-axis up here at 9. So the y-intercept is 9. Okay, we're going to move on to lines from equations next. So y equals mx, things to remember. So this might be confusing to you, but in a few minutes, hopefully it's all going to come together. The m is the coefficient of x. So I'm going to show you some ways you've probably seen it rather than just an m. The m is the slope of the line. So you've probably seen an equation like this, y equals 5x. Well, we're going to tune in m is what's multiplying by x. So in this case, 5 is multiplying by x. So 5 is m. So 5 is the slope. I'm just going to think of it as a fraction. In this equation, y equals negative 7x. We've got negative 7 multiplying by x. That is the slope, negative 7 over 1. You could have also thought of it as 7 over negative 1. Either way. Just don't make them both negative. Finally, we've got a fraction here, negative 3/4 of x. Y equals negative 3/4 of x. We've got this negative 3/4 multiplying by x. That's the slope. It's already in fraction form. Notice how I just took the negative sign and put it up towards the top. You could have also put it towards the bottom, but don't put it on both. All right, so now we're going to look at equations and figure out what the line's going to look like. So y equals 4x. When those previous problems, I gave you a point and I gave you a slope. In this problem, they give us the slope. We've learned about proportional relationships, and this would be a proportional relationship. And one thing about proportional relationships is that one of the ordered pairs that will always be a part of it will be 0, 0. And just to prove that, I'm going to go ahead and do a table. We've done these tables before where if x is 0, what's y? I'm going to go ahead and plug in a 0 for x, and 4 times 0 is 0. So in the previous problems, they gave us a point somewhere, in one of the quadrants. In this problem, our point, our starting point, is the origin, 0, 0. So I'm marking it. Now I just look up here and say, hey, that's the slope. I'm going to think of it as 4 over 1. And I'm going to think of it as up 4, right 1. So from here, I'm going to go up 4, right 1, mark it, up 4, right 1, and mark it. I could also reverse the process and mark a few here. And there it is. And if they asked about the y-intercept, you'd just say, well, it's hitting the y-axis at 0. The y-intercept would be 0. Moving on. Draw the line that has the equation y equals negative 2x. Well, we know the slope's going to be negative 2, and this is a proportional relationship, but just to double check, it should have that starting point of 0, 0. So hey, they give us an input of x. You could work it out. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it, and my slope is negative 2 over 1. So that means down 2, right 1. I'm going to go down 2, right 1, mark it, down 2, right 1, mark it. And then I'm going to go ahead and reverse the pattern. I'm going to think of it, okay, I'm going to continue this pattern this way. And there you go. I'm going to go ahead and connect the dots, connect the points. They should all be lining up along a straight line. This is a linear relationship that is proportional. Moving on. We have y equals negative 2/3 x. I'm going to go ahead and double check that starting point. I'm going to go ahead and do an input of 0. And then, hey, negative 2/3 of nothing is still nothing. Once again, the origin is going to be our starting point where then we're going to apply the slope. So the slope is negative 2/3, down 2, right 3. So from there, I'm going to go down 2, right 3, down 2, right 3. And I can reverse the pattern as well. And there we go. So that's it for the concepts. Now we're going to just try to do some questions on them. From what I've seen, the kids are having the hardest time matching an equation to a picture. So y equals negative 3x. Let's see if there's any I can get rid of just to start things off. So the first thing I'm going to notice is we have negative 3 over 1 as our slope. This is a negative slope, which means it would not be this one, because this is a positive slope. So we can narrow it down to these two. This is a proportional relationship. If I put in a 0, we should get an output of 0, so our line should be passing through the origin. So it can't be this. It can't be this one over here on the left. Proportional relationships have to pass through 0, 0, and this one passes at 0, positive 3. So we're going to get rid of that one. That leaves us with this. Let's just double check the slope. So at 0, 0, this should be down 3, right 1. And if you look, 1, 2, 3, right 1. Or down 2, 3, right 1. It does line up. We'll do another one of these. Y equals 3/2 of x. 3/2 times x. So we're going to go ahead and see that the slope is 3/2. Well, that's a positive slope. These are all positive slopes. Now I'm going to check this out. This is up 3, right 2. That seems to work. This one is up 2, right 3. So it can't be this one. This slope is 2/3. We don't want that one. We want 3/2. Now this slope has up 3, right 2, but wait a minute. Proportional relationships pass through 0, 0, so this line should be hitting the origin. So this one was up 3, right 2. Yes, it has a slope, but it doesn't hit at the origin, so it can't be this one. It's got to be this one. Up 3, right 2, up 3, right 2. Now we're going to just try this out. What is the equation of this line? So we've got this line here. I see that it's proportional. It's hitting the y-axis at 0, and it's passing through the origin. The slope, I see up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. The slope, doing the y equals mx. I know that the slope is 1/2, so I'm going to replace m with 1/2. Y equals 1/2 x. That's it. We've got one more. So this one, we're going to check out the proportional relationship. It's hitting at 0. Most likely it's proportional. Let's check out the y equals mx. We need to figure out the slope. So I see this is a negative slope, so it's going to be negative something. I'm going down 3, no, I'm going down 4, right 1. Or I could think of it as up 4, left 1, which still makes it negative 4/1. Down 4, right 1, down 4, right 1. So we don't really need the 1 anymore if we're just putting it in an equation form, so we can think of this as y equals negative 4x. And that is about it. I hope this helps. Best of luck to you.